Let's talk about a story. It's a really simple one, but it's also incredibly powerful because it reveals a deep, deep truth about our workplaces and about the problems that we all somehow agree to not see.
Okay, so picture this. It all starts with something we all know, right? The good old office water cooler. It's just there. It's part of the furniture. It's where you go for a quick break, a little bit of gossip. It's the absolute last place you'd ever expect to find a problem.
But on this day, in this office, that water cooler has a secret. And it's something that's about to throw that normal, everyday routine completely out the window.
So, the story goes like this. One day, an employee walks over to get a glass of water, just like any other day, but they stop dead in their tracks. Because right there, coiled up underneath the water cooler, is a small snake.
And you know how office news travels, right? It spreads like wildfire. The reaction? First, just total shock. And then immediately after, fear. The entire office just grinds to a halt. Everybody sees the problem, but they're totally paralyzed, just keeping their distance, kind of hoping someone else is going to deal with it.
So what's the first instinct? Well, it's denial. People actually start pretending it isn't there. You hear these whispers? Just ignore it. It'll probably go away on its own. It's this weird hope that if you just don't look at the problem, it'll magically fix itself.
And then, right after denial, comes the next classic move, deflection. You start hearing murmurs around the office, well, someone should really do something about that. See what's happening? It's a textbook case of it's somebody else's problem. Everyone agrees it's a problem, but nobody, and I mean nobody, thinks it's their problem to solve.
So finally, someone gets up the nerve to report it to a manager. And what's the manager's response? Total suppression. They just shut it down. They basically tell the employee, you're seeing things, stop stirring up trouble. And that, right there, sends a crystal clear message to everyone else. Do not talk about the problem. But here's the thing about ignoring problems. They don't just go away. All that denial and deflection, it doesn't make the snake disappear. Instead, the anxiety in the office just keeps building. Suddenly, getting a simple glass of water is this high-stakes, stressful event. And then, of course, the inevitable happens. Someone gets bitten. And it's only when they're being rushed to the hospital that everyone finally wakes up and realizes just how serious this ignored problem has become.
So, you've probably guessed by now, this story isn't really about a literal snake in an office. The snake is a symbol. It's a symbol for something much, much bigger, something I bet we've all seen in our own workplaces.
Okay, so let's define this thing. The snake under the water cooler is any problem that is obvious, that most people can see, but everyone collectively decides to ignore. You know what I'm talking about. It's that star performer who hits all their targets but is a total bully to the junior staff. Or that huge project that everyone knows is way behind schedule, but no one dares to tell the leadership. It's the problem that's hiding in plain sight.
And here's something that is absolutely crucial to get. The snake itself isn't the only threat. Sometimes it's not even the main one. The real danger is all the stuff that comes with it. It's the fear, the rumors, the gossip, the speculation. That's the bigger trouble. It's that constant low-level anxiety that just poisons the whole atmosphere, making even the simplest tasks feel stressful. Pretty soon, everyone is just walking on eggshells.
Now, this all sounds pretty bleak, right? But the good news is, there is an antidote to this kind of workplace paralysis. And it all comes down to leadership. So what do you do when you see a snake?
It really boils down to a 4-step playbook for any leader. First, you have to actually face the problem. Second, you need a clear system for what to do. Third, you've got to manage the team's emotions. And finally, you have to be the one to lead the charge.
All right, let's break down that first step. This is so important. A leader's job is to be the very first person willing to metaphorically crouch down and get a good, clear look at the snake. Remember the manager in the story? They just pretended it wasn't there. A real leader does the exact opposite. They acknowledge reality, because ignoring a problem never makes it go away. It just gives it time to get bigger. Now, step 2 is all about having a plan. See, being brave isn't enough. When a real problem pops up, is there a clear process? Does your team actually know who to call or what the steps are? Because if they don't, you get that exact same paralysis we saw in the story. A good system takes away the confusion and actually empowers people to act. And this brings us to the really big one. Your reaction as a leader sets the tone for everything. It's night and day. If you panic or run away from the problem, you just pour gasoline on the team's anxiety fire. And worse, they'll learn to hide problems from you next time. But if you stay calm, if you're transparent, if you focus on the solution, you teach your team to do the same. You create psychological safety. And that's an environment where people feel safe enough to point out the snakes.
So, we've gone through the story and the solution. But this isn't just some business school fable. It's a mirror. It's meant to make us look at our own teams, and maybe even our own leadership styles.
So I want you to really think about this for a second. Be honest with yourself. In your team, right now, what is the snake? What's that small, obvious problem that everyone sees but nobody is talking about? And now, think about your team's culture. When these kinds of issues do pop up, what's the default reaction? Do you guys face things head on? Do you approach the snake? Or is the default to just look the other way and hope it goes away?
And finally, this last question, it doesn't matter what your job title is, by the way. If you were that manager in the story, facing that situation, what would you do differently? Because the next time a snake shows up, and it will, your answer to that question could change everything.